So I just got a fresh shipment of poison ivy cream or treatment that I use in the mail today, and I thought I'd do a quick video just to kind of demonstrate the product that I use anytime that I get into poison ivy. As you can see, we live, my house is completely surrounded by trees. We're kind of in the middle of the timber, and we've got a ton of poison ivy around here. We're in kind of central to southern Iowa, and we've got tons of poison ivy in the timber around my place. And so I get multiple times a year I end up getting poison ivy. So a couple weeks ago, I was actually trimming around trees, weed eating, and I ended up getting some on my legs, and I actually used up the last that I had. So I ordered a new supply, and I just thought I'd show you guys what I use. I've used, all kinds of different over-the-counter medications trying to treat poison ivy. I've never had it so bad. I've had it pretty bad. I've never had it so bad that I've actually gone into the doctor and got a shot. But I think in a lot of cases when somebody gets poison ivy pretty bad, that's really the only thing that they feel like they can do, because I think they probably don't trust over-the-counter medications, or have had bad luck with them actually trying them. But I've got one here that I can tell you actually does work. This is a product that, kind of a long story, I actually had a house that I was selling, and it had an enormous poison ivy vine that big around. And actually there was like 2 or 3 of these vines this big around, going up a big cottonwood tree. And I actually hired a guy to come and kind of remediate. He's a poison ivy remediation guy. And he came and he dug out that poison ivy ball, took it all out of the tree, and got rid of it for me. He's the one who recommended this to me, and he swears up and down by it. Now that I've used it, I actually swear up and down by it too. And the product is called Zanfell, and I'll put a link down below so you can check it out. I can get it in my local, one of my local drugstores, but it's actually cheaper on Amazon. I think it's about 40 bucks, so it's not super cheap, but if anybody's had poison ivy before, you know that it's worth spending a couple bucks to get rid of the non-stop itch. Basically what this stuff is, and I'll show you, I'll try to show you a close-up, but basically it's just a cream, and the instructions, basically you just take, put about 1.5 inches or so in your hand, and you just put some water with it and just kind of rub it in and kind of create a paste. And the best thing that I can describe, if you're familiar with the old lava soap that's got kind of an abrasive, pumice or whatever in it, that's what it reminds me of. So I think that's kind of key to this stuff. So you kind of make up in a paste. I just do this in the shower, by the way. A lot of times I have it, in my legs, and actually no matter where I have it, I just always do this in the shower. And so you make up this paste, and then you just rub aggressively in the area that you've got the poison ivy rash. And I think the instructions actually say to rub up to 3 minutes. I probably rub, I don't know, I do it for a while, probably a minute or so, I'd say. And if you do that a couple of times, normally, like about anything, one treatment's probably not going to take care of it completely, but if you do it a couple times, 2 days in a row, I've had extremely good success with this stuff. Poison ivy, poison oak, poison sumac, all those, they have that same, there's an oil in them. It's like urushiol or something like that. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But that oil is what makes contact with your skin and actually creates that rash. And this stuff, with the abrasive in it and whatever chemicals are in this stuff, really does a good job of actually getting into the skin and breaking down and actually pulling that oil out. At least that's been my experience. So super easy stuff to use. Like I said, I think it actually says on here it treats, so one tube, where does it say on here? I think one tube is supposed to do something like 20, like 20 different treatments. It's not a small tube. As you can see, it's actually a pretty decent sized tube. It's 1 ounce. But again, if you just open it up and just put, I think the instructions say 1.5 inches approximately, make that paste and rub it on, and aggressively go after it. I rub, kind of hurts actually probably a little bit, but that tells me that I'm getting it worked in good to the skin. So anything else that I've tried, I shouldn't say anything else that I've tried just over the counter for poison ivy, I've never had any, I can't even tell if it does anything. And this stuff actually does get a result, and I think it's definitely worth trying it. So again, I'll leave a link below so you can kind of check it out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show a couple of examples because I have so much of it around. poison ivy that I see is in kind of two primary, I don't know, growth patterns. A lot of it is just plants just sticking up out of the ground. And a lot of times they're, you know, maybe 6 or 8 inches tall, something like that. And it kind of depends if they're in a place that you mow or, you know, a place that gets run over. I've seen poison ivy grow right out of the ground, you know, huge stuff, you know, 2-3 foot tall. And then where it really gets big is it likes to kind of grow up next to trees, and then it turns into a vine. And like I said, if you just let it go, I've seen literally that tree that I was talking about, I bet you each vine was probably at least 2.5 inches in diameter, and there were 2 to 3 of them. And it was the leaves on that thing, when you look up in the tree, and I've seen this many times, you look up in a tree and you think you're looking at tree leaves, but actually what you're seeing is poison ivy leaves, because they come off of branches that'll be 3 or 4 foot long and just massive leaves on them. So I'll show you a couple of examples here just so you can be familiar, in case you know, if you think possibly you've had contact, I can show you, you know, for sure what it is, so you'll know for sure. All right, so I'll bring you over here and show you a couple of examples. This area, this is kind of a natural barrier that I have growing up between me and my neighbor, so I don't, you know, never mow or anything back here, but poison ivy loves this spot. So let me just point out to you right here, this is classic right here. And this is your typical 3-leaf pattern. Now, not everything that you see with 3 leaves is poison ivy, I will say that, but the majority of the time it is. And this is also kind of a classic thing that you'll see. They've got, they have, I won't call it a sawtooth, but they have kind of an irregular leaf. On one side they'll have kind of a, you know, kind of an extra lobe over there. And most of the poison ivy around here, that's typically what you see. So this plant here, you can see it's mid-September, so they're starting to turn colors. And it's been dry too, but back up in there, there's some more of it. Back up in there, there's some more of it. If I look over here, here's some smaller stuff. So another plant, starting to kind of get a little bit, starting to pop up. So there's lots and lots of it around here. Now, I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but where it's the worst, where I've seen it the worst, is actually where it grows up next to a tree and it turns into a vine. So that tree up there, sorry, get you turned right. That tree up there, that vine going up there, that is poison ivy. And that one is, you can see it's mostly turning, mostly turned red. I don't know if I've got room. I'm gonna see if I can get back there so I can show you that. But if you can see from here, you can see how that vine goes up and it actually starts to branch off. And I've seen huge vines before, 4 or 5 foot branches, and you can't even tell what's tree and what's poison ivy. But actually, I think I'm not going to be able to get very close back there because it's really thick back there, so I'm just going to show you from here. But anyway, another representation of what it looks like. So, and that I should mention too, the guy that I actually recommended the Zanfell to me, you know, like I said, he actually removes poison ivy for a living is what he does. And what he said that he'll do is, when he's actually working on a job, he stays pretty well covered up, but when he's working on a job, if he thinks he might have any kind of skin contact, he'll actually use it preventatively. And he said if he does that, he's never had it. You know, if he's got arms exposed or hands or whatever, he'll just go ahead and give himself a good dose from it, and as a preventative measure, it's been very effective. So that's something to keep in mind too. If you think that you've gotten it, go ahead and do it preventatively, and I think it might, you know, you might be happy with the results there. All right, guys, so hopefully you found that helpful. Like I said, the product is called Zanfell. Just try it if you get into it. You know, it's fall now. Like I showed you, that one vine is actually starting to kind of turn colors, and that's what it seems like they do in the fall. But you can get poison ivy year round. Actually, that vine contains the oil just like the leaves do. So you know, if you're cutting a tree or something and you get into that vine, there's a lot of oil that can come out of there, and you can get it all year round. So anyway, super helpful stuff. Highly recommend it, and I think you'll be satisfied with the results. So hopefully you found that helpful. If you did, do me a favor, like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos like this. Thanks, bye.